So hi everybody, this is Ayush Sharma for WeJan, and today we have Wing Commander Alok Sahay to discuss the ongoing Ukraine-Russia conflict. Welcome to WeJan, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayush.
Yes, so my first question would be, sir, can you briefly explain our viewers what is the ongoing crisis and what are the reasons for it, and how long do you see the current war starting by Russia going ahead?
You see, this whole problem has started because Russia wants NATO not to extend eastwards towards Russian boundary.
Yes, sir.
Russia has been feeling very concerned for past so many years that they have Warsaw Pact they have dissolved, and there is no association of Warsaw Pact countries now. And Russia had joined European Union cooperation
Yes, sir.
treaty. They had joined in many forums, and they wanted a peaceful Europe because it was in the interest of Russia also, because Russia had very close economic, financial interest, commercial interest with Europe. So, but what was happening, Russia was feeling very concerned that all the countries which had got independence after breakdown of Russia in 1991, all these countries one by one were going into the fold of NATO.
Yes,
And NATO charter has a very clear cut mandate that all NATO countries will defend each other, and they will have a defense alliance where they can have the nuke capabilities also, and anti-nuke
yes, yes,
missile systems also can be deployed for the protection of those NATO states.
yes, sir.
So Russia's concern is that because of this, NATO has been deploying anti-aircraft and different kinds of intercontinental ballistic missiles in these states which are very close
Yes,
to Russian border. So Russia was feeling threatened that NATO is circling it, and it's coming very close with its missile and defense system and nuclear capabilities.
okay, sir. Okay.
Any country would like threatened, like India also feels threatened that China is increasing its uh, footprint in many
Yeah,
neighboring
yeah,
countries like Bhutan,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bangladesh, Sri Lanka,
Pakistan.
so
Yes, yes.
Pakistan. So India has
Yeah.
been shouting, India has been objecting to it that China is encircling India, and whatever best India can do, it's trying its best to stop that influence of China around India. Similarly, Russia was also requesting European Union and NATO
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not to extend their uh,
Their
boundaries
presence close to their borders. Yeah.
close to their borders. So
Yeah,
what
yeah. So,
happened in
mhm.
2007, as late as 2007, lastly when these three breakaway groups, breakaway states, Lithuania, Latvia, and these three Estonia, these three states, when
Estonia, yes.
yeah, when these three states joined NATO, the Russia was alarmed greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And that time, every time, whenever these countries were joining NATO, the Eastern European countries, Russia was objecting to it. And every time, each time, Western countries were assuring Russia that further extension will not take place.
Will not be there. Okay, okay. So what you are saying is like Russia has the legitimate concerns of the border states joining NATO, and then it will have like a permanent issue with it. So like if I may ask the second question, 3 days into the war in Ukraine, Russia has avoided civilian casualties, but I think they have lost a lot many of military infrastructure there. So what do you think going ahead? Russia will target civilian states in order to oust Zelensky, or do you think it is going to spiral down to a new world war? What do you think is the future of the new ongoing crisis?
See, once Russia has invaded, its initial objective was, as Russia had been very categorically saying on public platforms, that it wanted
Hmm.
independence of these two uh, eastern Ukraine republics.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
the yeah, so
Donetsk
where
and Luhansk. Yeah,
yes, these two
yeah,
states. But
yeah.
when Russia invaded, US had been telling that their intelligence says that Russia's plan was not to restrict to these two republics. It's
Hmm.
already, it has planned to invade Ukraine, which the world
Ukraine,
was
right?
not believing. What was the world was
Hmm.
not believing at that time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Russia's point was that Russia said that I will not invade Ukraine if Ukraine and NATO clearly gives a kind of commitment that okay, Ukraine will not join NATO. This
Hmm.
commitment was refused to be given by NATO, US, and also by Ukraine. So
Yes, yes.
Russia got aggrieved and it got infuriated, and that's why
Mhm.
every time it was not a full-fledged war initially. If you see
Yes, yes.
what Russia did, Russia in one sweep destroyed all the aerodromes, military installations,
Hmm.
air defense system of Ukraine
Hmm.
to have a free hand while
Yeah, yeah,
entering Ukraine. While entering
yeah.
Ukraine, but what happens? Many people, civilians, are not aware that all military installations have in their war plan something called like peaceful location and wartime locations.
Wartime
every
locations, yes.
unit every unit which is established at place A, it does not remain at place A during war or warlike situation.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it has to
Hmm.
move to the war location. It is already given in the war plan of every country,
Hmm.
and it is kept top secret. So what has happened when Russia did demolish all the air defense and missiles and other installations, radar installations of Ukraine, some of its units which might have been deployed to wartime locations, secret locations, might have escaped the Russian onslaught, and they must have
Hmm.
survived, and that is why the Ukraine is able to fight the war till date.
Yeah, yeah. Ukraine is putting up a good fight right now.
Yes,
So,
yes.
like, if I
but
may
but
ask, like,
yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
as what you asked me, that how long this can go on.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Russian objective is to get a clear cut mandate from Ukraine that it will not join NATO, which is not happening. The present president Zelensky has clearly
Yeah,
said
exactly.
that they will
Hmm.
fight till the last man.
Hmm.
What Ukraine is showing today is an exemplary and very nationalist feeling that
Hmm.
they will fight till the last man and till the last bullet. If that
Regardless of
happens,
the, yeah. Hmm.
yes, if that happens, Russia will be in a very bad and precarious condition, because the world will not accept this, that Russian invasion in Ukraine inflicts so much of civilian casualties. As you must
Hmm.
have seen in the past couple of days, they are showing the pictures of civilian targets, civilian installations getting hit by missiles.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
are
yeah. One of
dying.
the,
People are
yeah,
dying.
yeah.
So this is
Hmm.
creating a lot of euphoria all over the world. People are coming on the streets to protest against Russian invasion, because
Correct.
unlike other countries where US had been invading, this country Ukraine does not have a very bad image worldwide. They are not involved in any terrorist activities globally, as Afghanistan was, Iraq was. So they
Iraq
have got a,
was, Syria is,
so
yeah.
Syria, they have a very soft image. The people are
Hmm.
more or less peace loving country. So this kind of invasion, if it lingers, if it continues for more number of days, it will be very bad for Putin. Very bad for Putin. You must have seen
Also, sir,
that.
do you think the like in Ukraine, if the war goes on and Russia tries to do what it does in Afghanistan in the Soviet Union, like arming the civilians itself who want freedom from the Ukrainian president right now, there are certain areas in Ukraine which want to break away or which want Zelensky to move away. So, do you think two fractions divided in Ukraine, one supported by Western powers and the one supported and armed by the Russian state, and then the civil war goes on, or do you think the Russian objective is to oust Zelensky and install a puppet regime, and that ends there only, and they do not have further objectives to go ahead. Do you think it is going to go that way only?
As Ukrainians are showing today, as they are showing today, if
Yes.
the same tempo is maintained, and if every individual, every citizen, Ukrainian citizen, they decide, even if the more than 50% or 50% or 40% of the people decide to fight the war till the last man, then
Hmm.
it is going to be a very prolonged civil war in Ukraine, because there is a population of about 20% Russian speaking people who are pro Russia,
Yes.
and in
Yes.
and
Yes.
in Eastern Republic the 80% people were pro Russians. So there the problem will not be there. But in Ukraine, if the civil community is divided on the line of pro Russia and anti Russia, then it's going to be a very very long battle. What will happen? Russia will uh, uh, I mean, by use of its commandos and special forces, they will try to catch Zelensky and the ministers there of the present government,
I
and
think
they
that
will
is
say,
their only plan, like impounding their capital city of Kiev, and they do not
yes,
want civilian casualties. What they want is to get Zelensky and install a puppet regime and end the conflict there only.
yes, but my question is,
Hmm.
suppose they capture
Hmm.
Zelensky and some ministers and they take them to Russia by force, and they
Yes. Yes.
install a puppet government there. Will that
Hmm.
government be able to run the country? I doubt. If
Yes.
Ukraine has resolved to fight against Russia, and there is so much of anti-Russia feeling has this has been generated by the brutal manner in which Russia has invaded Ukraine. If the anti-Russian feeling is so strong there, then I think the new
It is going to be
puppet
difficult
government
for.
of
Yeah.
Russia will have a very
Hmm.
tough time ahead, very tough time ahead. And also
Right. Right.
remember the fact, Ayush, that the Western
Hmm.
countries, the NATO and US, will keep supplying arms and giving support to this breakaway group
Like they have always done.
like
Right.
they are doing it now. So
Yes. Yes.
I think Ukraine is going to have a very very tough time ahead. I have no doubt in my mind that a puppet government will be placed there by Russia in a short time,
Hmm. Yes. Yes.
because of, there is no match in Russian army and the Ukrainian
Exactly.
army.
Yeah.
There is no match.
Yeah.
But I am also worried. See, India is supporting Russia as of now, but the public opinion is tilting against Putin in a very strong manner, and it will keep on tilting as long the more number of days the Ukrainians fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more public opinion will go against Putin. You must have heard the
Exactly.
news that there are many cities in Russia itself where people
Yeah,
have
yeah.
come
Like
on the
people are
roads.
coming out and yeah, yeah.
Yes.
People have defied lockdowns and all coming in
So
support of the Ukrainian and no war campaign.
yes. So it's a
Yes, yes,
very
yes.
tough call by Putin. Had I been in his place, I would
Hmm.
have withdrawn by now. I mean, this was enough of a lesson to Ukraine, and but
Hmm.
I don't think Putin will
Like
withdraw
he's yeah,
till the time
he does
he
not
gets his own government there.
yeah, yeah. I do not seem to a person who would back off without like reaching the objectives he has set before the invasion. So, sir, talking about the West and the Western powers and the NATO forces, do you think they have done enough for the Ukraine campaign ahead? Do you think they have supported them enough, or like sanctions are not the thing Ukraine want right now? They want the NATO forces down and fighting the Russian forces there. Do you think the West has like abandoned the Ukraine power? What do you think about the Western take on the conflict right now?
I will not say abandoned, but they have definitely deceived Ukraine, because
Right.
they have given the impression that they are there to save Ukraine, they are there to support Ukraine. If Biden and the NATO had this thing in mind, that in case Russia invade, they will not
Hmm.
involve militarily, they will not put their military in Ukraine.
Correct.
This thing
Hmm.
should have been known to Ukraine beforehand. And the kind of impression NATO and US gave to Ukraine before the war is that NATO and US will be standing for Ukraine against Russia
Yeah.
under
Yeah. Yeah.
under all circumstances,
Circumstances. Right.
which was a wrong message, and the Ukrainians
Hmm.
have been deceived by this.
Okay.
Have been
Do you
deceived
think
by this.
the same playbook will be activated if in case China tries to mess with Taiwan? Do you think Taiwan will be left alone to fight, or do you think the Western powers or the powers in the Quad they'll come out and support Taiwan, or do you think every country in the world is going to fight an aggressor alone and no sort of alliances are going to work in the future warfare?
Very good question, Ayush. Very good question. There are two aspects here. Remember, as I have been
Yes, sir.
telling on national channels also,
Yes,
there
sir.
are two angles here which are very important. See, China, Russia has done adequate preparation before invasion. It has taken
Mm-hmm.
China with it. Okay, China.
Correct,
It's a
correct.
very
Yeah.
powerful country, very powerful nuclear state. And if China is supporting Russia fully in this war, is
Correct.
there any under table agreement or understanding between China and Russia
And
that
Russia.
tomorrow if China does the same thing with any other state, do you think that Russia will not support China?
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. So China
And that should
may
concern
take.
us more. Yeah.
Yes, so that is
Yes.
concerning us more.
Mm-hmm.
This is the point which is concerning the world also more because of Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
Because on what ground the world will fight against China now in Taiwan? Suppose China decides the same strategy for Taiwan, what will happen to the world? This is one question. See,
Yes.
China may take undue advantage of this Russian alliance in future. This is one concern.
Mm-hmm.
Second concern, Ayush, which I feel is this war has shown to us a very dangerous trend. What is that? That a nuclear power can invade a non nuclear
Yes.
state, a weaker
That was going
state,
to be my second, like the next question. Yes.
and the other nuclear powers will not get involved directly because it will mean that it will lead to third world war.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
clash between two nuclear big powers means third world war, and that means end of humanity and end of earth.
So, sir, if I may
And
ask one more question.
so
Yeah.
Ayush, remember
Yeah.
this. So
Yes, sir.
this very fact that how can we stop such a big nuclear power, that restraint to stop that big nuclear power
Mm-hmm.
is a very dangerous trend. It may
Mm-hmm.
encourage these big nuclear powers to grab and to trample the smaller
Mm-hmm.
states at their
Smaller
will.
states. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
at their
So, do
will.
you
And the
think so? The
other,
smaller states, do you think the smaller states like North Korea will now tend to get the nuclear power in themselves? Like Ukraine shelved all their nuclear weapons when when the USSR broke apart. So, do you think the smaller states will now get emboldened enough to develop their own nuclear weapons? So, if in case a bigger power tries to invade them, and then it can quickly spiral down to like nuclear warhead
yes,
shooting down
yes,
at each other.
yes. In my opinion, all smaller states will get this lesson now by this war, that they cannot depend on big nuclear powers' help. in
Mm-hmm.
in case of crisis coming against a big nuclear power, the other nuclear powers will remain silent. They will not risk direct confrontation because third
Exactly.
world war means self destruction. If Russia
Yes, sir.
sends its military and fights Russian in Ukraine, it will lead to third world war, and that is what is stopping NATO and US. So this
Yes,
is a
yes.
very bad trend. It is a bad it's a bad signal for the nuclear non-proliferation movement the world over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All
Yes, yes.
countries will try to have nuclear weapons now. It is a lesson for India also, and we knew it that no, we cannot depend on anybody else. We have to
Mm-hmm.
make ourselves strong, and that is why during Vajpayee government we did not bother the UN sanction, and we
Yes,
went
yes,
ahead
yes.
with the
And we went
nuclear
ahead
weapon.
and yeah.
Yes, and
Yes,
today
yes.
we are standing against China just
Mm-hmm.
because of this fact. Had we been
Yes, sir.
not a nuclear power, China would
Yes,
have
sir.
done the same thing what Russia has done to Ukraine.
Don't
But
Ukraine. Yes, yes.
remember,
Mm-hmm.
India at this moment of time is not siding with Ukraine because of various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The reasons are Ukraine has never been our friend in the past.
Yes, sir. It has supported Pakistan's providing them with the tank
Yes,
upgrades and
yes,
all sort
yes.
of engines to their
We
Babur missiles.
wanted
Yes, yes.
we wanted uranium from Ukraine. For our
Yes, yes.
research purposes. Ukraine refused. We
Mhm.
wanted some military help. Ukraine refused. Ukraine has voted in favor of sanction against India in UNSC,
Yes,
in
yes.
the United Nations. So Ukraine has never been Indian friend. Rather, they have acted against us. And you see
Mhm.
how the time has changed. That Ukraine is now begging Modi to save
Yes, yes.
Ukraine from Putin.
Mhm.
So see, the
Mhm.
time has changed now. How it has taken, a 180-degree turn.
Yes, yes.
So at this moment, India cannot afford to go against Russia, because Russia is the only country who in the past and also in the present has been supporting India wholeheartedly. The kind of
Yes, yes.
military and diplomatic support we get from Russia, we cannot expect
Yes,
from
yes.
the Western countries. They are not true to their words. Western countries are not true to their words. So we cannot depend on them. We are pro-Russians,
So,
and India will
mhm.
remain pro-Russia at the moment.
So, yes, sir. So I have one last question, and this has two different parts to it. So one is, how do you think India is going to act in the future? Like we have 70% of our military hardware owning to the Russian state. So do you think it is time for us to indigenize all sort of weaponry we have from Navy to Air Force and to the coming down to the army itself? And second, how do you think the propaganda war is going to work in the future?
See, India has been relying on indigenous, what Modi calls it, Swadeshi movement,
Atmanirbhar. Yeah.
Atmanirbhar Bharat. So this
Yes, sir.
Atmanirbhar Bharat movement is very active in the defense production also, and defense technology. We have developed kind of weapons, we have developed kind of technologies which many civilians are not aware of. Some of the things have come into public domain. You may be knowing that we have developed this swarm drones technology.
Yes, yes, yes,
Swarm
yes.
drones, okay.
Yes,
It's
yes,
a
sir.
very
Yes, sir.
dangerous weapon, and no country so far has, anything to stop that, any
Mhm.
technology to stop that onslaught if swarm drones are launched. So, and not only that, India has been developing very fast in rocket technology, in space
Yes.
technology,
Mhm.
in long range ballistic missiles. We have also done very successful trials of hypersonic missiles. We will be the, third country only to have that
Yes, yes.
kind of
That kind of
missile. Okay,
technology. Yes, yes, yes.
so some trials have already taken place. So India firmly believes in Atmanirbhar principle, and
Yes, sir.
going ahead very at a very rapid pace. And with this government, I think there is always going to be a wholehearted support to Atmanirbhar Bharat in the defense technology.
Okay.
And the time is not far when India will be a superpower, will be recognized as superpower. We are already on the verge of it. We are already on the verge of it. And this is the only way we can stand among the uh, nations globally on our own foot firmly, and we can deter the evil eyes of the enemy countries on us.
Yes, sir.
That is the
Yes.
only way. We have to make ourselves strong. Ukraine
Yes, sir.
has again reconfirmed our belief that we have to make our country strong if we have to survive.
Yes, 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 sir. So I think we are going to agree on that part that we have to grow economically and militarily to establish ourselves as one of the powers who like other power do not mess with. So like going ahead in the conflict, it is going to be a tough time for our diplomacy, and it is going to be a tough time for the entire humanity. And I hope it doesn't get spiral down to a bigger scene, and I hope it ends soon. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for having this conversation. I wish you a very good day ahead.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.